Namaste, fellow gamers. How are we today? I know I haven't posted a video in about a week or so. I've been very busy, had lots of clients, been working a lot. But we are going to play Mini Motorways today, and we are going to talk about our inner child. So let's first decide what we're going to do. Let's try a new one. Let's go to Tokyo. So yeah, we are going to talk about our inner child today. Now, some of you might be wondering, what is this term, inner child? And I believe that our inner child is someone who is essentially a younger version of ourselves, a younger, more inexperienced version of ourselves. The theory behind the inner child is believed to be a younger part of your psyche that influences everyday adult decisions, thoughts, understanding of the world, possibly. It can be a positive thing, it can be a negative thing. What with trauma, if you've experienced trauma in your early life of some kind, then that will influence the decisions you make in your adult life. If you've had positive experiences, then that will also affect the decisions you make in your adult life. Now, what I think, I'm just going to get a roundabout here. What I think in terms of, I suppose, the science behind it, I guess, is we have a left part of our brain and we have a right part of our brain. The left part of our brain is the logical side of our brain, the one that can think rationally about decisions and can ideally know the best possible outcomes in the current situation, in the present. And the right side of our brain, I believe, is our emotional state, is the emotional side of our brain. And what I think in terms of the left and the right side of the brain is that the left side of our brain can think logically. It's the age we are now, the adult version of ourselves. And the right brain is our inner child, which doesn't necessarily think rationally about things, is run by emotions. And it's really interesting to think about, I suppose, how do you make decisions? Do you make decisions based on logic and reasoning, or do you make decisions based on the emotional feeling that you have alongside it? I suppose the inner child, in a sense, is, for that reason, it does affect our lives. It affects how we make decisions, it affects how we are triggered. And I think it's a really important thing to think about. It comes up a lot in the work that I do, this idea of understanding, let's say something makes you upset, understanding the reasons that you're upset by this particular event or this particular thing that has happened to you. It's really important to understand that. It's also really important, I think, to understand how we make these decisions in our life. Do we make decisions based on logic and reasoning, or do we make decisions based on how we feel about it? And there's no positive or negative to either. It's just a case of it's just a case of understanding our be it rational or irrational. It's more about understanding how we respond to different situations. And sometimes I found that our inner child can come up at all sorts of situations, whether we feel anxious about something, whether we're feeling unsure, whether something is triggering us that is in the present safe and okay, but we're being triggered because of something within our past. I'm going to choose a roundabout. So how can we help that inner child? First I would say potentially thinking about, well, what's the possible trauma associated with that? Is there something that has, I'd say trauma. I don't mean trauma. I meant, is there something in the past that has happened that is triggering this behavior, that's triggering this, whatever you want to call it, alarm bells, unsureness, anxiety, and if something has happened in the past, then that's triggering this anxiety or this feeling, whatever it might be, positive or negative, is it something that is relevant to the situation that's happening in the present? And so, it's much easier to think about in terms of when something negative happens. I think it's really important to think about the positives as well. Like, what are the positive things that happen in your life that have happened in your life in the past that have influenced the decisions that you make today? And it's just I find it really fascinating, because the inner child in my work with my clients comes a lot. Oh, we've made 200 trips. Comes a lot in sessions with clients, and it's really, they're really surprised by when, let's say that they've come with an issue, and then that issue's been fixed, and then something else comes up, and then something else comes up. A lot of the time it's our inner child trying to process something or the other to ensure its safety, to ensure it's going to be safe and that everything's going to be okay. I think it's something that, oh my goodness, I think it's something that's really important and really vital to think about when in therapy, because it does influence us, it does impact us on a daily basis. It's something that I think, is really important, because our inner child does affect us every day in whatever way, shape or form that might be. I have always believed, our feelings are telling us something. They're telling us to listen. They're telling us to go, hold on a minute, guys, I'm not feeling great at this situation. Like, is there something you can do to help? And it's our job to listen to that and to hear what our feelings have to say. Because, motorway, road tolls, motorway, road tolls, motorway, road tolls, motorway, road tolls, motorway. Our feelings aren't there just as an inconvenience, although I can definitely understand that sometimes it can be very inconvenient. I really believe that our feelings are there to tell us something. They're trying to communicate something with us. They're trying to, whether that be understand the situation at hand, whether that be alerting this need for safety. Our inner child is a really important, I think, element of us as human beings. And I suppose personally, I don't think it's something that should be ignored. I don't think it's something that should be, I suppose, dismissed too quickly, because sorry, I don't think it's something that should be dismissed too quickly, because our inner child is important to how we function as an adult. And what you'll find is you'll notice that sometimes, if like me you've got young children, sometimes when your children do something, it can be quite triggering. And I think it's all about understanding what has happened, or what is this trigger. Why are you being triggered by something that your child is doing? Albeit, not everything is a sense of over analyzing. Your child might just be being a bit of a dickhead, really, or or that they may not be. There may be something more behind it. They may be trying to communicate something with you. And it's important, I think, to think about that. But when you are triggered by something that your child is doing, what is that trying to tell you? What is the reason you are being triggered by this? Rather than just thinking, oh, well, this is annoying, blah, blah, blah. Is there something in your life that has happened for this kind of reaction? And sometimes that is our inner child screaming out to us, going, listen to me, I'm trying to tell you something. It's really important because it's making me feel a particular way. And what are they trying to say? What is your inner child trying to say, guys? What is the hurt? What is the pain? What is essentially, what are they trying to tell us? Because it's clearly important that there's this need for this part of you to be heard. Why are they hurting? I'm sorry, Purple, you've got a bunch of houses up here. I suppose the next question in this is, how do we help it? How can we help our inner child? How can we hear what it's telling us? How can we hear what it has to say? How can we understand? How can we stop it affecting our lives? Because essentially our inner child, as much as we don't want it to, sometimes our inner child will take over and try and run the show. Well, that's not helpful. We'll take over and try and run the show for a little while. And it's about how we can, I suppose, approach that. How can we hear what this part of us is trying to tell us? Our inner child may not necessarily be the most rational person. Let me just split these up, guys, because I'm getting distracted by the game. How can we come at our inner child from an empathic point of view? What I like to sometimes do or say is that, if we think of us as human beings as some kind of car, and generally our adult selves, most people will know how to drive. And what happens sometimes is when we are triggered, or when we are feeling a particular way, our inner child can jump into that driver's seat of life. Our inner child can go, oh my God, this has happened and I don't know what to do with myself. And basically your inner child will jump in that driver's seat of your life and go, okay, well, I know this way is safe, so I'm going this way. Or I know that way is safe, I'm going that way. But actually, what you can find as a rational human being, and sort of engaging more of the left side of our brain, is you can say to your inner child, well, I've got you. You can pick up that child from that driver's seat, pop them in the passenger seat, and let them know that it's going to be okay. I've got you. Let me just take you out of this driver's seat. I can understand that you're not feeling very, very safe right now, but I can think about this rationally. I'm hearing how frightened you are, but it's gonna be okay because I've got you. I can hear you. I can hear the stress that you are feeling right now, and it's gonna be okay. I've got your back. And if you can find, I suppose, a way to create that space for that inner child to be heard, it can be incredibly healing. It can be so amazing in helping that part of yourself be heard, because that's all our inner child really wants. They want to be heard. They are coming at life in a situation where they are not necessarily feeling like they are being heard. And so what we can do as our adult selves is hear that child, because it's hurting, it's scared, it's worried, it's anxious. It hasn't felt this element of safety, and so clearly it's feeling stressed, and it's important for us to hear what it has to say, because that is the only way I think we will be able to move forward with and move forward and heal those triggers. There are other ideas too. There are creative ways to sort of get in touch with the inner child part of ourselves, which again is a really, I suppose, creative, interesting concept. There's art you can do, there's different art techniques that are really very, very telling. Well, that's not helpful. Why would you do that? That can be really, really telling in how the inner child communicates, or what it's trying to say. Oh, that doesn't help me. Let's just go for 30 road tolls. I've got 2 roundabouts, right? For what the inner child is trying to say. And I think, there's an inner child in everyone. I think there's, we can always find ways to communicate with that part of ourselves, to come at these feelings with love and understanding and empathy, because perhaps that part of ourselves that is perhaps that part of yourself that is yearning for something is really struggling with not feeling heard. So, I ask you guys, what can you do to hear your inner child? What can you do to help this younger version of yourself that is reaching out, that is reaching out and crying for someone to hear them, someone to understand what they're going through? Sometimes I do get quite emotional talking about this, because it just makes me feel sad sometimes that I can feel other people's inner child hurting. And being a mother, sometimes all I ever want to do is rescue. And although that's a part of myself of understanding who I am, it's not something that will be helpful in a therapeutic relationship, a therapeutic alliance, essentially. So what can I do to help someone connect with their inner child? Because it's a real difficult topic. It's one that is not easy. It's not something that I suppose anyone would find easy. because our inner child is vulnerable, and we don't want to be vulnerable as human beings. We don't want to show people that side of ourselves, because that can be really hard. It can be really hard to trust someone with that part of ourselves, because being vulnerable means trusting, and perhaps your inner child doesn't trust anyone at the moment, and that's okay. That's okay for your inner child not to trust. Your inner child can trust you. Your inner child can trust that you have oh my god, these are going mental. Your inner child can trust that you have the best intentions for it, that you're going to be the one that looks after it. Oh, we're done. We're done. What do you think? What do you think, guys, about this? Oh, I unlocked something. Oh, challenges. No, I don't want to do a challenge right now. Thank you very much. So what do you think, guys? What do you think about this idea of the inner child, and the idea that, the left side of our brain is the logical side, the right side is the emotional side, which essentially is our inner child stuck in a... I mean, they could be stuck, they could not be stuck, but it's our inner child sort of ruling our emotions in a sense. Let me know what you think. Let me know about your inner child. I'm interested to hear what your triggers are. Leave a note in the comments and see. I'd really love to hear about what you find, in terms of what you've learned about yourself. So yeah, do the usual, like, subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. The sound quality on some of the videos are not great, but I've invested in a better pair of headphones, so hopefully from now on you can hear what I'm saying, and the background noise is taken out. But I hope that doesn't take away from the different things that I'm talking about. So yeah, check out some of my other videos, and leave a note in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your inner child needs. I'd be really interested to hear. But thanks for taking the time to come and play Mini Motorways with me. We didn't do great, but that's okay. I feel satisfied, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.